The ability to be in the present moment is a major component of mental wellness, so says Abraham Maslow. And it's a good thing. You know that you don't allow the stress and the things that happen in your everyday life to affect you to the point where you now begin to malfunction. You know, human beings can malfunction at every given time. To operate at a high frequency and get the best results from your activities on a daily basis, you have to be operating at an optimal capacity. That means you have to be in your best wealth. And your best wealth is your best health, which you can achieve if you work for it. Welcome. This is Wellness and Living. My name is Thelma. We thank you as always for being a part of our social media handle, Wellness and Living at Nigerian Television Authority. To spend time with us today as we talk about different things that can have the best impact on us and our health if we take them seriously. How important is your wellness to you? Mentally, physically, emotionally, and otherwise? Well, we have come to learn that taking brisk walks or jogging can impact your health and your wellness positively. That's why we are working with Push Africa to showcase what happened recently. Well, they are working to alleviate poverty and also to spread the good news by impacting people with gifts and items that can work well for them. Let's see this.
Bobby! Push Africa. Push Africa. Push Africa. Okay. Africa. Push Nigeria.
We set up intervention programs, especially in the local communities, especially in the suburb area of our country, to empower young people with various vocational skills, to encourage young people to go into agriculture, to encourage young people to take advantage of the opportunities, that surrounds them. So beyond just the work, we want to continue to have intervention programs that we can see that can be sustainable and as much as impactful as well. Intervention programs like skill acquisition. We're teaching people how to become professional fashion designers, teaching them how to become makeup artists, photographers, basically various vocational skills. Not all of us must have white-collar jobs.
We're so angry that we neglect that we're powerful. We're just holding back to be productive because we feel like they are the change. We're so angry with the world that we feel like the change cannot be us or cannot come from us. That's wrong. What's wrong with our youth?
Have you heard about radiation and electromagnetic rays? Well, what researchers are saying that it can affect us negatively to the extent that some people will wind up with a terminal illness.
Do you know that our behavioral patterns influence our health and general well-being? Far beyond the confines of dietary choices, the incessant use of cell phones can impose a lifetime of health issues. 91% of Nigerian adults and teens own this device that has revolutionized communication in the 21st century. If radiation is high enough, it has a thermal effect, which means it rises the body temperature. There are concerns that radiation emitted by mobile phone can cause health problems such as cancers and brain tumors. Many people have become addicts to their gadgets and cannot imagine life without them. Little do they know that these gadgets are messing up their sleep cycle, as the blue light from personal electronic devices have also been linked to serious physical and mental health problems. It is said to suppress production of hormones melatonin, which triggers your body's natural sleeping cues, increasing your risk for a wide range of ailments ranging from depression to cancer. It is said that these gadgets are to blame for many deaths, infertility, and heightened radiation emission. An example is that the increased incidence of fatal brain damage in young children is happening all over the world, especially in foreign countries. It is particularly worrisome that radiation from our telecommunication and power line technology is damaging the DNA in our cells, which could also account for the rising cancer rates. For example, Shamisia, a student, confessed that she loves using her mobile phone. She says, "I use my phone for a long period of time, either for research about assignments, for phone calls, or even while I chat." The Communication Commission suggests that cell phone users should keep a minimum distance of 20 centimeters from their handsets to significantly reduce radiation exposure. With the research conducted, it was found out that 94.5% of the phones tested were contaminated with some bacteria known as superbug bacteria that are resistant to one or more commonly used antibiotics. Future and present generations are at risk as biological facts are being ignored, and as a result, the safety limits are blurred. Dr. Jane Orizu has some health tips that we can listen to and abide by.
Electromagnetic rays, we hear, doesn't impact us positively with regard to our health, which we want to work for us so we can continue to be productive and we can aspire and set goals and objectives. That is why we've invited Dr. Jane Orizu to throw more light about preventive measures we can take and how we can be in our best health at all times.
Electromagnetic radiations are very dangerous. A lot of us get worried when they say to take X-ray, to do a CT scan, you're worried about the radiation. Little do we know that we now move around with the radiations in forms of cell phones, laptops, tablets, palm tops, name it. This also emits radiation, and this is actually very dangerous in the sense that you're constantly exposed to it and you have it very close to your body. Now, the electromagnetic radiation can actually denature your DNA, which research has shown that because of the denaturing of the DNA has now increased the risk of cancer in this current generation, considering that this is the generation that has had the most exposure to these devices. Now, that we already know this, I think what we should be thinking about is preventive measures, how to keep ourselves safe and healthy. To start with, for the radiation, very important, get an earpiece as much as possible. Use your earpiece for your calls, especially long calls. Avoid holding your phones close to your face as much as possible. I think you should actually schedule timing that you have your cell phone being used, as opposed to not having a particular time that you use your cell phone, because that will expose you longer to your cell phone. If you plan yourself and you say from certain time to certain time I'll use my cell phones, I'll return calls, I'll reply my emails, you know that when that time is done, it's done, as opposed to just constantly looking at your cell phone and using your cell phones. Now, there are also other health hazards beyond the radiation from your cell phone. The bright light that comes from the cell phone actually impairs the vision. Over time, can actually cause visual impairment. Research has also shown that the cell phone contains more germs than the toilet seat. Would you believe that? And that actually puts you at harm's way because it affects your immunity. You get sick quicker. Not just that, you pass the germs to other people. I think what you can do from time to time, just always get a clean wipe, antiseptic wipe, and wipe off the surface of your cell phone. And then research has also shown that cell phone users, palm top users, and what have you, have increased risk of having chronic pains on their necks, their backs, and their hands because of increased use. First of all, if you know you have to use a laptop for a prolonged period of time, get a proper seat, learn proper sitting position so you're not always tilting forward and bending your neck and bending your back and putting your spine in harm's way. And then for the use of your hands, if you type for a little bit, just try to stretch, exercise your hands instead of just keeping it at a certain position and just using it constantly. For men, putting the laptops on their thighs, considering that the testes are outside of the body, so the temperature, the rays get to them quicker, can actually affect the quality of your sperm. So as opposed to putting it on your thighs, just use it on the table or something, but avoid putting the laptop on your thighs. In as much as we want our children to be advanced, to be cool, to be up to date, all these things that I just said to you, even as an adult, it's probably going to take a while for you to be able to adjust to these things. A child probably wouldn't even know the importance of adjusting to these things and probably wouldn't even adjust to these things. And if this can affect you, an adult, imagine what it will do to a child. So please, I think before you give your children cell phones and expose them to all these gadgets, you should make sure that they are mature enough to be responsible enough to keep their health in check, not to endanger their health while using these devices.
The birth of a baby is wonderful news for the family, for friends, for well-wishers, and their relatives. Everyone comes from far and near to be a part of the celebration. So it's in everyone's best interest to learn how to manage pregnancy, how to keep a newborn healthy, and how to continue to grow their well-being and their wellness upwards as they grow, from childhood and adolescence to adulthood. And that's our focus today as we bring you a package on reproductive health.
Over the years, Nigeria has made some appreciable progress in health, education, technology, and the economy through various strategic investments. However, these gains have not significantly translated into improvement in the quality of life as more people live in poverty with restricted access to good food, safe housing, quality education, and basic healthcare than they were 20 years ago. According to National Population Commission in 2017, there are over 180 million Nigerians, out of which about 40 million now women of reproductive age, representing approximately 1 in every 5 Nigerians. The United Nations projects that going by the current demographic trend, Nigeria's population will double to over 400 million Nigerians by the year 2050 unless something deliberate is done. In spite of past and current commitments to global goals of ending poverty, ensuring healthy lives, promoting well-being, and providing full and productive employment for its citizens, Nigeria still has one of the highest rates of preventable maternal deaths in the world, contributing to over 10% of the global burden. 5 women die every hour of pregnancy and childbirth-related causes in Nigeria. This is equivalent to 110 women dying every day and 40,150 women dying every year. These preventable deaths of our sisters, mothers, wives, daughters, and friends who are also Nigerian citizens negatively directly impact our families, communities, and our economy. Thankfully, there is a way to substantially improve this situation. This is where family planning or childbirth spacing comes in. Empowering families to have children they can adequately cater for will help in reducing economic burden and lift families out of poverty. When children are planned for and spaced adequately, it saves the lives of the mother and child by preventing high-risk pregnancies and increasing the chances of survival and future prosperity. According to the 2013 National Demographic Health Survey, 7.3 million women have an unmet need, family planning, meaning that they want to avoid pregnancy, but they are not currently using any family planning method. This represents about 16% of married women in Nigeria. Meeting women's needs for modern contraceptives prevents about 1/3 of all maternal deaths globally. Nigerian leaders need to address this by making family planning services accessible to every woman, married or unmarried.
Currently, we have, for example, infant mortality rate of about 122 per thousand. If you're able to space 2 to 3 years, you're going to be reducing the infant mortality to about 67 per thousand. By the time you space the children to about 3 to 4 years, in fact, your infant mortality rate is going to be as low as 47 per thousand.
Family planning use in Nigeria increased only marginally from 8% to 16% in 2003 and 2013. According to a 2013 estimate, the total fertility rate, TFR, which is the average number of live births a woman in Nigeria has throughout her life, stands at about 5.5 children per woman, one of the highest in the world. This has declined only marginally since independence over 50 years ago, when it stood at 6.6. If we can get contraceptive to all these women who need them, we would prevent an estimated 1.5 million child deaths and stop about 13,000 women from dying over the next 10 years.
Making contraceptive information and services available to everyone who needs it. It's a moral obligation. It is a cost-effective way of reducing infant and maternal morbidity and mortality. It improves health and quality of life. It empowers families and communities on a pathway to poverty reduction. No woman deserves to suffer or die bringing forth another life. Every child deserves to live, thrive, and prosper.
A recent IMF report in 2018 shows that economic growth and recovery, although progressive, remains slow, barely keeping pace with our rapidly growing population, a pace that hampers efforts to boost employment and reduce poverty. Though there are other factors that contribute to the GDP, there is substantial evidence that countries that have reduced total fertility rate have significantly improved their GDP. Reduction in the total fertility rate is correlated with increased productivity, which enhances gross domestic product, GDP.
Naturally, we all know that the more people you have in a family, the more it will take to keep that family going in every dimension. Feeding them, clothing them, sending children to school. So the more you have in the family, the more children, the more you have to spend. And the less you have to invest, because investment often results from the leftover, haven't done the basics. So naturally, if you have a large number of children, there's less saving, there's less investment. There is a direct correlation between lowered fertility rates and increasing family buying power.
Evidence suggests that in countries where families have the number of children they can cater for, there will be reduced economic burden on the household. If families enjoy this benefit of improved economic well-being, then you can imagine how this translates to boosting the economy of a nation like Nigeria. With reduced burden on the household resulting from childbirth spacing, families are better able to afford good food, attain higher education levels, and have better health care. Over time, healthier, productive, educated families are better able to contribute to national development due to a more productive workforce, translating to higher overall economic growth for states and our country as a whole. More healthy, productive, educated families lead to a better society and more productive country. With more controlled population growth, the government is better able to provide quality healthcare services, education, social infrastructure, and jobs for its citizenry.
Economic growth can be accelerated by prioritizing investments in family planning, in our socio-economic growth, and our recovery intervention. Government need to take the lead in ensuring that every man and woman in our urban and rural areas have access to effective family planning as part of their focus on maternal and child death improvement. It is not enough to provide family planning services. Government should also encourage people to take up family planning as part of the effort to improve our socio-economic growth.
The solution is in your hands. All you need is act now. Evidence shows that Nigeria can transit from a lower to a higher middle-income country in 40 years if she invests in more ambitious family planning programs. Family planning or childbirth spacing can help to have smaller families, leading to massive economic gains that can potentially lift 53 million people out of poverty by the year 2020. Policy and decision makers at all levels must ensure adequate funding for childbirth spacing and family planning programming so that this important service is available at all primary healthcare facilities. Religious and traditional leaders speak up about the benefits of childbirth spacing. Health experts, managers, implementers and service providers should provide family planning service to everyone who needs it without bias and speak up about the safety and effectiveness of modern family planning methods. Business leaders invest in family planning programming to support the efforts of the Nigerian government. As the most populous African nation, Nigeria has the capacity and responsibility to do this. With the appropriate amount of funds and right policies in place, we all have the moral obligation to ensure that every woman can access family planning information and services. Remember that investing in family planning is investing for a lifetime of rewards. We must get it together for a brighter future.
Many a time will tell you, if you don't take your food as medicine, very soon you'll be taking your medicine as food. They say information is power. That is why we take time on Wellness and Living to research, to talk to medical professionals, to work out reviews so that you can be well, you can be strong, and you can be productive. There's a Chinese proverb that says that he who visits doctors and neglects his diet is wasting the skill of those doctors. Well, we've done our part today on Wellness and Living, and we thank you for listening. But don't just listen, practice what we preach. Join us on our social media handle, Wellness and Living at Nigerian Television Authority. My name is Thelma, but I'd love to be with you again, talking about some other topics that will benefit you health-wise. Bye for now.
Yes, it be like say they want to tell us another story again, yo. Now so, you know, say people they say I be superstar, but for me, the real superstars are those people where they go vote for the candidate of their choice without violence. So for these upcoming elections, be my superstar. Vote, no fights, no violence, because the election will be won.
We work together so the future will be brighter.
Disaster occurs on frequent basis. Some we hear of, others we do not. Terrorism, flood,